Hi, in this video I'd like to talk about hypothyroidism and its associated risk with miscarriage and recurrent miscarriage. So hypothyroidism is a condition, a disorder of the thyroid gland where the thyroid gland begins to swell and also begins to secrete excessive levels of T3 and T4. So the complication of this condition is that metabolism and metabolic processes of the body are all increased, accelerated at a much higher pace than their normal counterparts, and it can affect the menstrual cycle, your fertility, and also your pregnancy as well, leading to repeated miscarriages, recurrent miscarriages, and also recurrent immunological miscarriage if you leave it untreated. So when T3 and T4 are excessively high, certain processes of the body, which includes muscle development, bone maturation, cardiovascular system, and systemic metabolism of the body, all of these are increased at a much higher rate, which is why certain symptoms that is associated with hypothyroidism include rapid loss of weight because your body is just burning so much calories, and also you will begin to struggle to develop muscle, and also you have a swollen thyroid gland, which is quite obvious. This is a sign of hypothyroidism. And then it also accelerates the menstrual cycle. This symptom alone is what affects your fertility. Now let's go deeper into this factor. So when the menstrual cycle is accelerated, your menstruation cycle accelerated with the high levels of T3 and T4, this will affect the quality of egg cells released by the ovaries, because they have a much shorter luteal phase than their counterparts, a much shorter time for them to actually grow and mature. The egg cells released are usually of lower quality. Either sometimes they will break down before fertilization, but even if they are fertilized, these types of egg cells usually end in a very quick miscarriage. So they are quite associated with repeated early miscarriages. Furthermore, it causes corpus luteum insufficiency as well, because the corpus luteum within the ovary doesn't have enough time to mature and grow, very similar to the egg cells within the ovaries. And then, as we all know, corpus luteum insufficiency is very detrimental during a pregnancy because it means there is very low levels of progesterone. This can mean two things. Low levels of progesterone can lead to endometrium that is not vascularized or not so healthy for implantation to take place. If there's very low progesterone, implantation will be very difficult to take place. Secondly, if there's very low progesterone, even if implantation has taken place, this embryo, during embryogenesis, it will struggle to develop and mature because it requires progesterone to grow and mature, to develop blood vessels, to deliver nutrients. So eventually this will also lead to another early miscarriage. So for treatment of these hypothyroidism that's linked to recurrent miscarriage, first of all, we need to examine your medical history. Have you been experiencing repeated miscarriages, infertility, unexplainable miscarriages associated with symptoms of hypothyroidism? For example, you are constantly sweating, you have a higher body temperature, you have a shorter luteal phase, you have a swollen thyroid gland, and then you struggle to develop muscle, you have muscle weakness, bone weakness, and also you lose a lot of weight. We can link these two together, and usually these patients, the underlying cause behind their failed pregnancy journey is usually due to the hyperthyroidism. So for these patients, treatment is very straightforward. If we deal with the hyperthyroidism, the entire processes of the body will restore itself to normal levels. We do not need to interfere further. So for hyperthyroidism, all we need to do is either administer radioactive iodine orally or via intravenous injections, or we can just prescribe anti-thyroid medication to stabilize these hormones. Very quickly, these patients can go on to a successful pregnancy journey, and there will be no complications anymore. Another thing I want to mention is that these patients, because of their repeated pregnancy losses, they do usually have another factor, which is an immunological factor that's affecting the pregnancy. So for comprehensive treatment, we'd like to treat both the hypothyroidism and also the immunological factor, which means we need to give you thyroid medication and also the immunotherapy. With these two, then only you will have a uninterrupted, full-term, successful pregnancy, and you can also begin to go on to multiple pregnancies with no complications. So Antai Hospital offers these treatments, these diagnoses for our patients suffering from hypothyroidism-related miscarriages with a full refund guarantee. Get in touch with us via the website, set up an online consultation, and let's see how we can help you today.